Special good morning to our listeners. Special good morning to our viewers. Hope all is well with everyone this morning. Certainly nice to have everyone with us, who is, of course, our usual listeners and the viewers. Thanks for being part of our To The Point show this morning here on Classic Radio and GBN TV. It's Monday, the 27th day of April, 2026. Welcome also to those of you by our social media platforms, whether it's a Facebook page, YouTube channels. Good morning to you. Certainly a pleasure to have you folks with us this morning here on today's edition. We do also do have Mr. McPhail. Somehow he's a little bit out of the shot, and I'm not sure why or reason that has happened, but let's see if we can have that rectified for a wee bit. And I think there you are, sir. Good morning to both of you. Of course, Mr. Sylvan McIntyre is back with us this morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have you back, sir.
Good morning, GT. Good morning, Mr. McPhail.
Good morning, Mr.
And let me say a pleasant good morning to all our listeners, or followers, or viewers, and everything else, and supporters of this program. It is good to be back, although I wasn't really out.
Yeah.
And before we go there, I followed the program last week, and I understood. I heard that I was due for some spanking. so
I think we were deferring that this morning.
You're not going to spank me anymore?
No, we probably do it off-air. I think an off-air conversation might be better.
Right. Okay. So I know I would not be spanked and so on. But I did miss aspect of the program, and I did apologize for not being here. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers probably they understood. And I always enjoy being on the program with you, GT, and with Mr. McPhail, and obviously engaging with especially the people who call and make contribution to the program.
Yes.
Mind you, though, there are a lot of unsung heroes, probably some of you make mention of during our flowers. And there are a lot of people who follow and listen to our program, but they do not call in.
All right.
So ever so often they'll meet us and say, oh, look, they're following the program. Some people actually meet me and say, oh, we didn't see you on the program, we missed you on the program and so on. I said, well, the other two people were there. But I'm one of those kind of quiet supporters, background supporters of the program that always give us the encouragement. We want to say thank you very, very much.
I do from time to time meet individuals who give us those commendations from time to time, and they do enjoy. Some of them do say that they learn a lot.
Right.
In terms, sometimes aspect of traffic and things that we spoke about, sometimes in relation to the laws and everything like that. Sometimes they may not even knew that it even existed.
Right.
Or they may have heard but not put a lot of energy into it. There are a lot of things you may hear but not put the energy into it. And sometimes they say they do appreciate us taking the time out. So sometimes the details that we go into, they may have never gotten to that distance in terms of understanding those things. And they're too appreciative of that from time to time.
Yeah, man.
All right.
So GBN kudos for hosting this program.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Well, around this segment, we're going to pop into the flowers. I'm not sure if there's any flowers you want to give this morning, whether it's sunflower or hibiscus or whatever you want to give us.
And you get your flowers from the appropriate garden. Because this morning, Mr. McPhail told me he was going to be giving some flowers. I said, I hope you picked it not from the cemetery or somewhere else, that it was from a garden.
Because there have been quite a number of funerals recently. Sylvan, and I hope that your flowers don't come from any of those.
No. But I think this aspect of our program it has to be commended, because I think a lot of people who are making contributions and things that are happening, and sometimes we do not really recognize them. And I think this program is one of those that lend itself to giving credit where credit is due. And again, one of the highlights of our program is that we do not just come and criticize or comment on the issues, but like you guys have been doing continued last week, asking people for recommendations and solutions to what we see could make Grenada better. And I think that is the quality of the program I want to promote, and that's why we want to give some flowers. So Richard, I'll give you the opportunity first to give some flowers, then I'll give mine.
All right, the flowers this morning goes out to the Steelpan Association.
Okay.
For a well-planned, well-executed pan expression yesterday evening on the Tanti netball court.
Great.
But I also want to commend and applaud, congratulate the IMA Rainbow All Stars for winning the competition. It's probably a sign of things to come for Panorama this year. Where some of the bigger bands, better known bands, were beaten by IMA.
I like. So they had to step up their game.
Yeah.
So the quality of pan is expected to increase.
Yes.
Right.
It shows that pan is alive.
Yeah. So congratulations once again, Rainbow City.
Although I heard, by the way, that the arranger is from Angel Habs, the best band in the land.
You should never say that. But yes, but that's okay.
I mean, thanks for the flowers.
The flowers is really good.
I did hear some negatives referring to that, and some folks were saying that they were a little bit unhappy with the authorities not focus much on the pan thing yesterday, and everybody was on the content creator. Attention was given more there.
Oh,
you understand?
Right. We're going to talk about that too.
They were saying that, yes, we had the, of course, the representative who was representing the Thomas and George and stuff was there, and so forth. The how they call an organization in St. Andrew?
Sedu
also gave some thanks and so forth, but they were expecting the authorities to give a little more attention.
Okay.
And somehow the content creators stole the moment more.
But the visit of the content creator was a well-kept secret.
You find so?
Yeah, because I only heard of it.
I don't know the
about when I stumbled on it on television.
He actually did not release his plan, but made it public for security and other reasons. As you may have seen, he has a huge following, especially the younger people.
Yes.
And so we're going to speak of the aspect of classic lighting. The authority at the sports
meet, yes.
They knew.
Okay. I mean, but, I knew about it because there was some information spread about it.
But they had to keep it. They kept it controlled.
My younger sons, they knew more about him more than I knew about it myself. Right. And I had to go online and gain some information in reference to who he is.
Right.
I had never followed it before.
Right.
You understand? But all in all, it is what it is. It is what it is.
But in the point you're making in terms of how we balance what we focus on and. There are a lot of issues, and sometimes they become competing.
Yes.
And we have to be mindful and be careful of what we give, precedence, and what we should really give national priority over. And it's something that we juggle with quite a bit. And we have to be like programs and other things like that, be able to focus and criticize with the intent of a positive outcome.
Yes.
In terms of how we prioritize and we focus on the national issues and the things that will really bring us the benefit. And the thing that will really, cater for the majority of the people. And if we're speaking of future, we also want to focus on how is it impacting the youth positively. Because we cannot live for the now.
Yes.
Our good planners and leaders would envision things for many, many years to come.
Yeah.
And you're planning that way. So when you're having issues, you're having things and so on, the organizers especially must understand where you give particular credits and where you give particular mileage and so on, so that you don't overcrowd the national issues. Some things that are very temporary, you want to put a balance between whether you should give it some highlight now because it is for a short time, or whether or not it's going to take out something that could have long-lasting impact. So you're absolutely right, and the comments from the people, that's welcome. I think when we have discussions on issues, you get people to focus a bit more on what they should do and they should be doing. You may not see it immediately, but down the road they will remember that you actually mentioned something. That was all the flowers? So my flowers. Now remember last week I was out a little bit. I was out of Ireland, but in Ireland, technically, looking at some national issues and so on. But I think the flowers, as I mentioned on Song Hero, kudos to our athletes for the performance at the national event, which is now becoming a calendar event premiere almost. The classic communal invitational still having been hosted the second year. Lots of innovation. I think the organizers, they must be commended. They must be given flowers for it because what people don't see a lot is the immediate outcome. But it is having long-term effects in that Mr. Bido must be singled out in terms of one of the orchestrator of it. Classic Lighting and Trade Center, etc. He's been promoting like over 20-something clubs and schools sponsored and full sponsorship. Medical uniforms that include spikes and all these things, and transportation to a large extent, and that must be commended. And I want to, really say that the long-lasting effect on that is that we have quite a number of our athletes who are showcased now internationally. I don't know the exact number, but quite a number of them are on scholarship. And what we saw happening over the weekend, there were people who had the eyes on the timings, and they were scouting for the talents and so on. And we did have athletes actually putting out the best. We had personal best that came out from a few athletes and so on. Some that may have left school and may not be within that scope of being identified for scholarship. But when you have them putting down these timings and so on, that is really a big thing.
And I think it's commendable that really those games.
I think it's a great initiative. It is a great initiative.
A great initiative, and it is hoping to continue. And again, the whole aspect of what we saw, and because I'm part of the medical oversight response team and so forth, I always take the time off to commend the people behind the scenes. We had Dr. Martin, Dr. Hines, and other nurses and other persons, volunteers who were there from the they call it the FAST group, First Aid Support Team, young people who volunteer the time. And I think the work done behind the scenes must be commended for that, because when athletes come down with either a medical or a physical issue and so on, we have the physios there, Mr. Holm and others, who would really look after them and immediately see them recover and go back. And in terms of now looking at athletes with less long-term effects, I think that's the effectiveness of having those systems in place. And Dr. Mario Christopher, one of the major physios we have here behind the scene, I've seen this man walk behind in the room, and you don't always see him outside, and work with athletes and so on, and get them to go back into competition. People like these unsung heroes, we really need to be able to let them know that their contribution is really appreciated.
I think there's something that is needed for maybe a ceremony where these individuals are given the recognition.
Could be recognized.
You understand? Because they are not the ones in the forefront, but they are playing a major role for the individuals who are in the forefront, especially when it comes to the runners and so forth. So a situation could occur, maybe one of these days that could occur where these folks are given that recognition in a public setting.
Well, I can tell you, Classic Lighting and Communal, they intend to do that, because they did last year, had a ceremony, an award ceremony, recognize some people for outstanding performance and contribution. I think it's going to happen again in 2027, maybe for 2026. That's kind of thing. But you're absolutely right. Outside of that grouping, identifying people, I think we need those national recognition. And having mentioned that, we had an off-site, unofficial conversation about national heroes and the naming of streets and communities after persons and so on. And I think we mentioned that on our program one time.
Yes, we did.
That's some of the recognition that we should be given. If this particular, like I mentioned, Dr. Mario or other person who come from a particular community, they've been making those contributions. You name a street, you name an alley, you name something after those persons and so on, across. And try to get ourselves from the Baghdad and the Brooklyns and the other things that don't really belong to us genetically.
And the Sendal and the Lucas and the Tyrrell and the Green. And
I had someone calling in reference. Was it on our program?
Maybe. But
calling in reference.
I mean, there are a lot of people who are making contributions here, who've made contributions, and the younger generation will not know them.
And but it's done voluntarily too.
Yeah, a lot of volunteer works are gone in. Yeah, man. And I think in some way we really can give them a lot of the dollars and cents and the parcel of land, maybe. But we could put their name up on a few things, and I look at, and particularly in areas where they came from.
Yeah.
And I look at the Allen Francis roundabout. Allen Francis is not from St. George.
Right
there. Kirani James Boulevard, right there. But Kirani is from St. John. Allen Francis is from St. Andrew. Is there anything in St. Andrew that represents Allen Francis?
That's interesting. Interesting.
And that brings me back to the days of the revolution, where you had schools named after persons like
within the community.
Yes. When they had
Jeremiah Richardson.
Yeah, when they had the model secondary schools. Yeah.
Bonnet Bailey.
Yes. That was a good thing. You know that?
I know.
You know Happy Hill Secondary School, Bernard Bailey, right?
I know that.
You're old enough to know that?
I'm old enough to know that.
At junior secondary school. And Grenville was also a junior secondary school, right?
And Jeremiah Richardson.
Yes, I know.
And the Booker Secondary School was what? Harold Strong.
Yeah.
I don't know it as. I actually attended Boca Secondary.
Oh, great!
But I knew it as Boca Secondary.
You want to know something?
But actually, I knew it as Boca Junior Sec.
Yeah, well, by Boca Junior Sec because I was a product of the revolution.
Yeah.
And do you want to know something?
Yeah.
While I was in school as well, I was at the Tech and Vogue doing some program. And the Boca Secondary School, the Junior Sec, that was the first school I actually did electrical installation.
Yeah. And that's where we go back to back. And that's where I learned my technical work from.
You see? And there I went and I say to people, my payment then was a sandwich that was about 6 inches long from $1 bread and a glass of milk. I worked for that with the person whom I was learning from for a while. And I made dollars of electrical installation after that. But I think our flowers expanded this morning, but I think it's really rich.
It was the conversation. So let's take that break. When we come back, we continue. Stay with us, folks, on the Point Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back. Don't touch it out.
Win an unforgettable experience to a live feed.
Across our Caribbean, we're going digital, working smarter and living safer online.
In Dominica, we don't fall for fake prices. We check before we click.
In Grenada, we verify before we share, keeping our hard-earned money safe from hackers.
In St. Lucia, we report cyberbullying, protecting our children and each other.
In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we report scams fast, protecting our neighbors and our communities.
Together, we're building a cyber-smart Caribbean, keeping our people and our data safe, standing up to scams and cybercrime. We stay connected, but always alert. This message is brought to you by the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project. Stay smart, stay safe. Think Card TP. Visit cardtpconnect.org.
Life doesn't stand still. It moves. It grows. It asks you to believe in what's next. Your first car. Owning your home. The business you build. The future you choose to invest in. Life moves in steps. When you're ready to take the next one, we're here to help you move forward with banking solutions designed for life. From vehicle financing and mortgages to education savings, credit solutions, and support for your growing business. Republic Bank, ready for life, every step.
Right Choice Promotion presents Lyrics and Laughter, the ultimate pre-Mother's Day show. It's coming to the Grenada Trade Center on Sunday, May the 3rd from 5 p.m. Get ready for an evening of non-stop comedy, sweet Caribbean vibes, and pure entertainment. From Trinidad and Tobago, the funniest man in the region, Errol Fabian.
She said not even my shoes, I said no.
Humorous Calypsonians, Trinidad Rio.
Going back to basics.
And the Calypso princess herself, Kareen Ashen from the Spice Isles. 2 decades of legend, Randy Isaac, Little Reds, plus local comedy king, Robert White, Dillian Walters, Fat Man George, and Kareem Alexis, delivering lyrical mastery, 11-time Calypso Monarch scholar, all backed by the Heatwave Band, with special musical treats from Lyndon Langdon on sax and Jelani Moses on violin. It's lyrics, it's laughter, it's music, it's vibes. Tickets just $75. Available now at gotofed.com and other outlets island-wide. Treat mom, treat your partner, treat yourself. Lyrics and laughter. Sunday, May the 3rd, 5 p.m. Grenada Trade Center. Don't miss it. Fire up the coals, bring the flavor. It's time to crown the King of the Grill. Maggie King of the Grill 2026 is calling you. Think you got the creativity, the skills, and the fire to rule the grill? This is the ultimate showdown for chefs, backyard masters, and the food lovers alike. Step up, show your talent, and claim your spot among the best. With over $5,000 in cash and prizes to be won, the stakes has never been hotter. Happening Saturday, May the 30th. Register now. Call or WhatsApp 407-8458. But hurry, registration close April the 30th. Don't wait. Bring your fire, bring your flavor, and bring your A-game. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026, where champions are made on the grill.
Let's say welcome back to our listeners, welcome back to our viewers once again. It's To The Point, Classic Radio TV and TV. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Yes.
We want to sprung off a conversation, not going back to last week. You know, sometimes you have to go back to come forward.
Correct.
As some folks would say, we have to go back a little bit.
You get more speed to come forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somehow, you know, sometimes you're driving and you before you accelerate, you move back, especially if you're doing it manually.
You've been driving with cars? I don't understand, GT.
Well, yes. Yesterday I saw that Telesford truck doing a 11.7.
Really?
In Pearls. Yeah, that was interesting. Up against,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was interesting.
Oh, okay,
for all electric, coming up against a combustion engine. You understand? And I was able to do 11.7. That was interesting.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting. Oh, that's not our conversation.
But it's good because it has implication for road safety. Because the people who also go on to do those things on the track, they come on the road.
Yes.
So it's off. And so we have to guard it in 2 ways. One, the speeding issue. So they try to do this on mainly the Morris Bishop Highway all to the airport sometimes, that's why in back roads.
Yes.
And 2, the noise pollution issue that you guys spoke a little bit about as well. Those huge barrels, some of them releasing the manifolds and all them kind of things, they get those blasts and those sparks, and they're coming off in public and blasting those. And I think those are public nuisance. Yeah. They are actually violation of our Noise Pollution Act, and I think they are things that should be clamped on. So on we understand the leeway that is given for when you have the drag race and all those kind of things. Those areas and that kind of a noise and everything else, it is limited to that. As a matter of fact, the guys who are doing that, they should understand that there will be greater anxiety and anticipation and support if you leave it to when you get there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Confine it to that area.
So when people want to hear that,
it draws the attention of individual wanting to come to your event.
That's right, because that's what they're going to see.
But then when you do it on an everyday basis, you lose the value of what you want.
And you annoy most of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially, again, let me just reference, I'll probably get there one day to be a senior citizen. Because the senior citizen people, they've been complaining about those kind of things. And I think we joke sometimes about it, we smile about it, but it's a real menace. It's really something that is mind-boggling, and it is depressive in terms of they having to go through those situations and have to deal with it. And when people get to a senior level stage and you want to have some level of tranquility and otherwise, and the environmental conditions and so on does not lend itself to that, it causes people's longevity to deteriorate, to be honest. It cuts short some aspect of them, and I think we have to be a bit more caring and holistically caring.
I agree.
I agree.
Not just one. Well, one of the concerns you've been hearing from the elderly in reference to the noise pollution and stuff like that, the feeling that they're having is that they're not getting that adequate, response from the authority in reference to it.
Right.
You understand? Yes, they complain, but they're getting the feeling, they get the impression that like nothing can be done about it. Which is not true. Something can be done about it. But sometimes they get the impression, I have called and complained and do this and do that. I speak to elderly individuals in reference to that from time to time. And that's the feedback I'm getting. Nothing has been done. I call the authorities, they say they're going to send someone, no one comes, and, so they get an impression, well, maybe nothing could be done about it.
GT, I smile about this, and the reason why I smile because I'm in crisis management and risk reduction issues. And I kind of connect this to situations where you have a crisis situation, and the people who are stronger, they have the energy, they have the voice in some place, they are the ones who get the results. So I would make reference to Jamaica in some place, and I spoke to them on it, where they were doing airdrops.
Yeah.
It was not really organized. They were dropping food and other things up in the hills and other places in communities because you had what they call maroon communities where people couldn't get by traffic or otherwise. And they were just dropping this stuff. You know what happened? The people who were stronger, they were coming out and they were taking the many tarpaulins, they were taking the food and they were moving with it. And so those older persons, less capable persons, were not getting it. The point I want to make here is that the senior citizens and the elderly, to an extent, maybe they don't have that voice. Yeah. And maybe they don't have that energy to go out and host demonstrations with placards and everything and say this is it. And I think it's a serious national issue. There's a place called the Desk of the Elderly. Yeah. And I think maybe they should rephrase it, call it the elderly, otherwise I don't know what it should be. But there has to be a forum where the elderly and the aged people can raise their issues, their concern, and get feedback as to how these are being addressed. And the amenities and other things are wrong, societally created, must lend itself to making the ambience more user-friendly for persons who have attained a particular age. And so I think our society is beginning to feel a bit brutal, beginning to feel a bit biased in that sense, where the things that these persons speak about, they are not getting the feedback. And even if some things I can tell you I know, some things are being addressed, but feedback is critical. And you walk into a lot of places and the people who are stronger, you don't see a lot of signs up saying, some of the banks, Co-op especially, I want to say thank you in some places, they do cater. Yeah. Yes. But in a lot of other places, you see places, senior citizen, and who is considered to be a senior citizen. I mean, Richard might be in a particular age, but Richard looked like 35. So if he walks in a situation, nobody will just see Richard as a citizen.
Yeah.
But if you see people of a particular age is considered to be senior, then you don't have to produce your passport or otherwise to do that. So that's where you go, and you people will. So the point I'm really trying to make is that there has to be a voice that care for the people who have attained a particular age that is considered to be senior or elderly.
Yeah.
And the noise pollution and those things that are happening around, including, and I would want to be a representative and a support for Citizen Rolo, who speaks of the disabled people and how they are treated and how things are not really generated to accommodate them. Sidewalks and pedestrian crossings and all these things and information processes is quite a bit. And so that aspect has to become more prominent, and they must make that aspect. And I have to say, because from my point as a risk reduction specialist, those are some of the things that you don't see as a hurricane or an earthquake or something that impacting. But those kind of negative psychological and psychosocial impacts take people down. And again, in Jamaica, I was telling them that they've had a death of 45 persons directly related to the hurricane. But the post-hurricane impact, 6 months to a year or 2 years, you have more people dying of the psychological effects than the impact itself. And I had statistics when I went to the BVI. The number of people that died were minimal. And when I spoke to them later on, the number of people that came down in a few months after, it is just painful. So we have the expertise, we have the experience of people who understand these things. And we're hoping that, we could be given a listen ear, and things could be not just listened to, but implemented. So when we listen to the comments of the people who call on the radio station, and a lot of people looking for an avenue, looking for a place to speak, to vent.
Yes.
This program allows that kind of an opportunity. And we're hoping that the national infrastructure would create some conduits, some avenues where the information could be channeled and action could follow through.
It does continue, but you mentioned this and it trickles my mind a wee bit. Is it the problem because we're not hearing the complaints have been made in numbers? Sometimes we hear one or two individuals calling to a program like this or other programs and complain around it. Or maybe you hear one individual from a community may have called the police or something of that nature. But we're not hearing it done in numbers. Could that be one of the reasons why we're not getting that strong feedback in reference to the curbing the problems, especially when we go to noise pollution? I spoke to one person yesterday in reference to events that takes place at the stadium.
Right.
All right. And they were saying, imagine an event going up to 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
You understand? They asked me, could something be done in terms of telling the promoter or the folks who may have to organize events, who offers them the permission, that your sound system has to be played at a certain level? Especially when you get to those peak hours of the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an idea. So I'm not sure if that could be suggested. It could be a suggestion.
Yeah.
That the promoter goes to whoever authority to get permission to host these events, and they will say maybe you could play an event at certain level up to 1 a.m. But you may have to tone it down. Not that the audience can hear, but at a level that it would not go beyond the stadium grounds or something in the sun.
But you're making some really good point that represents a lot. One, I think when we speak, we have to be able to back it up sometime by statistical references. In other words, the number of persons that may be affected or otherwise. Yeah. Statistically, where security is concerned, I think one policeman in Grenada represents like 100, technically, based on our population and the size of the police force.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, the voice of and the numbers, one person who speaks represents technically beyond 100 or 1,000. So you look at it in that way, that if you have one person speaking on an issue, you better bet it is affecting 1,000 plus other persons.
But only one that is speaking.
That's correct.
But that is what is causing the continuation of the problem.
That's correct.
In my opinion, because if there's 1,000 being affected, but only one that is speaking up, I think less attention will be given to that one individual.
Well,
other than we have 100 people.
A lone voice
in the wilderness, as they would say.
But it doesn't have to be the numbers. And I think sometimes when the police respond to a noise situation, you may hear similar comments. Is that only one person is reporting or speaking about it?
Only you are complaining, so announce that.
And that should not really be the issue. You have to analyze the quality and the content of the report. There are other people in the community that may not care less. But if you are able to negatively impact one person, trust me, one person is one too many to be affected negatively. And so if a person makes a report about loud music in a particular area, it should not be treated as you are the only person reporting it, but listen to the content, the quality, and so on, and look at its justification and what else it could be having. So while that other person could be reporting, others may be creating their own noise buffer, or they're just tolerating it. But that one person that you're speaking about, you know what that one person can do? Get up, take something, take up a machine gun that has so much bullets in it. You know what people they could kill? Because they're frustrated about the situation. And that could be real, to be honest. So you don't just really look at the number of persons, but I think sometimes people come out and they know this man down the road, they have some beef with him. So they go and tell the police that man playing loud music. When you look at it really, there's no real justification. So in that sense, you understand it. So that's why everything has to be treated on its merit. Not necessarily, I think, on numbers. Really, as statistics.
I understand your point. And I understand your point. I understand your sir. But it still could be viewed in that particular way that, hey, it's only Mr. McIntyre that complaining.
They do that a lot of times.
It's only Mr. McIntyre, so.
And some people, how many of them have the ability sometimes? Again, let us look at the population of the senior citizens. The average one of them, they don't go back, they don't go on internet, they don't follow social media. And when you call on the phone or otherwise, it might be so congested, they get frustrated, that they don't want to be calling, they don't want to be coming out of their home. So they just lay back and can't be bothered. And can't be bothered.
You didn't get to sleep, it doesn't get to sleep, and I'll take it during the day more or less. Like I get it last night. Some folks may say that.
As I was saying, GT, a lot of people listen to our program, but they don't call. They just take it in. Yes, it happened. Wow, we've won some time, but it's
we'll take our second break, and when we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks, to the point. Classic Radio Tribune TV. We will be right back. Don't touch it out.
Grenada, the fire's about to be lit. Get ready for the ultimate grilling showdown. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026 is coming your way. Saturday, May the 30th at the Monroe Plain Field. The search is on for the island's top grill masters. Do you have what it takes? Bring your flavor and compete in the chicken category, the seafood category, and the bold, most creative grill category, where daring ideas take the crown. And this year, the heat isn't just for adults. Introducing the Junior Grillers category. Schools and youth groups. If you are under 18, this is your time to shine. So fire up those coals, sharpen those grilling skills, and get ready to battle for grilling glory. Registration is now open. Call or WhatsApp 405-8458 to secure your spot. Maggie, King of the Grill 2026. Saturday, May the 30th, Monroe Plain Field. Come for food, stay for the vibes, and witness who will be crowned King of the Grill. Brought to you by Maggie, enhancing the natural flavor of your food.
Across our Caribbean, we're going digital, working smarter and living safer online.
In Dominica, we don't fall for fake prizes. We check before we click.
In Grenada, we verify before we share, keeping our hard-earned money safe from hackers.
In St. Lucia, we report cyberbullying, protecting our children and each other.
In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we report scams fast, protecting our neighbors and our communities.
Together, we're building a cyber-smart Caribbean, keeping our people and our data safe, standing up to scams and cybercrime. We stay connected, but always alert. This message is brought to you by the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project. Stay smart, stay safe. Think Card TP. Visit cardtpconnect.org.
Before the digital age, before the world moved at the speed of a click, there was a signal connecting a nation. In 1986, a journey in broadcasting began in Grenada, a journey that would grow into a trusted voice across the country. For 40 years, through radio and television, we've been there for the stories that shaped our nation, the news that mattered, the voices that informed us, the moments that brought us together. Your stories, your voices, your moments. The Grenada Broadcasting Network, 40 years strong, one nation, one network.
welcome back. Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Yeah, of course, Mr. McIntyre, of course, Mr. McPhail. Welcome back. We want to divert our conversation in this segment here this morning. Seasonal readiness.
Yes, of course.
Seasonal readiness.
Meaning hurricane season.
Hurricane season is just around the corner, some folks would say.
Okay.
We're in the dry season. Are folks even ready for the dry season?
Right.
You know, sometimes it's one of those seasons, sometimes I think folks, they're not ready for it. Mm-hmm. Can we get caught with the water situation and we complain about that and stuff, and then the rainy season come in and then we know a lot of water is available. But sometimes we still ain't ready for that particular season.
Good.
Let me give you the opportunity to chime in on that.
So as you realize, our program is multiple pronged, but we have two main stems.
Yeah.
We have the traffic angle and we have the disaster risk aspect of it. And so we want to just keep our people focused and be able to multitask and multi-think as well in terms of where we are. Climate change and everything else happening, and so we have the dry season, and I want people to understand that dry season. A dry season does not mean that we should not have rain.
No,
because as we realize, from January to now, we've been having rain every month.
Yes, we have. Yes.
A few times per month, just as well.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of it just
the
last
prediction
week,
and the forecast for the dry season mean that you're likely to have less amount of rainfall than the normal period.
Yeah.
That can affect it into a drought, meaning that you have less access to water. Doesn't mean that you may have a very critical situation where you don't have water at all. And in this dry season, which runs from January to end of May, is a period that people get caught up. And so it has implication for a couple of things. Your readiness into dealing with the tropical cyclone season that comes up from June to November. And then the other aspect of it is your aspect of food security and everything else that can sustain you over a given period of time. And then maybe a third component is the area of misinterpreting the season and getting complacent because the people predicted that we were going to have drought. And look at this stage, we're still getting rain.
And, yeah.
So the point where what we're doing here is to advise and forewarn people that do not become complacent or get captivated in the fact that we've had a dry season that gave us rain, that created a better condition for farming and so on, and the sustainability of food over a given period of time. Understanding now that after the impacts of the hurricanes which we had from Beryl recently, we've had our forest topography seriously damaged, or forestry, and we have a lot of tree tops that was generating the rain. It's not happening. So we lost a lot of the amount of water in our streams and tributaries and our rivers across. So there'll be less access to water. It does mean that there wouldn't be. And because we have stronger and greater evaporation, because less cloud cover coming lower, so that you have condensation that will give you some level of rain. Because you have less trees and higher grounds to attract that rainfall, it is obviously affecting the amount of water we have in our rivers. So what that is pointing to, that I want people to be mindful of, that in the drier aspect of it, think about, like Ministry of Agriculture have done recently, advising people on what kinds of things to plant that would generate certain qualities and it will be able to last over a given period. And if you have, as you enter into the hurricane season doesn't mean as soon as June break,
it's hurricane.
Okay. You have a peak period that goes from end of July to basically into September. You have the peak hurricane season, where like you may have heavy hurricanes or not. But the point is, we would want people to marry the two, between the wet season and the dry season. There are a couple of things that are likely to happen. Right now, with the amount of even construction, road construction, and the moving of the lines for water and so on, we have unstable surfaces in a lot of areas. And so cracks and other things are occurring. Soil will become more unstable. Rocks and stones are going to be moving and so on. The little rain between the dry season is not really a help, technically.
Okay.
Because what it does, when the sun comes, it becomes really hot. And have you ever realized what happens to hot thing when water falls in it?
Yep.
there's a steam that comes, and with the steam comes a pressure. The pressure creates sometimes almost an explosive consequence. And that's why people use the heat and so on to break stones and so on in the past. So you could have these things happening, and you have movements of soil where water that may have not existed or passed in some time will pass. So as it stands now, people need to try to look at what exists in their surrounding. Or agriculturists and our road officers and other people, they should be carrying out no rigorous inspections around to see where some effects of some things may have happened. And with what you have, history and return periods of where things have happened in the past, they're likely to be repeated in the future. And so areas like going up the west coast, where you have this fault line that you get as you get closer to Guav, the Mabuya area, and so on. There are a number of places that have those kind of effects. Even the Grand Dance Road by the foliage and so on. There's similarly to believe a fault line that passes there because that area is always unstable. The road they always sink. Similar. So people need to carry out those kind of inspections. And I've seen again another aspect of creating flows at our rivers. Clearing out filth and other things and plants and so on from our rivers is not always the solution. Could be debated, could be criticized. Removing stones and rocks and other things in certain streamlines and riverbeds do have negative consequences. They do. Because the flow and the velocity in some areas are managed and diverted by those rocks that are placed naturally into those areas. And so when you remove them and you create like a steady flow, it creates greater velocity downstream. It leads to sometimes flash floods. And this is why every area that someone thinks that needs some level of adjustment within the dry season, they must have a scientific analysis or what they call an environmental impact assessment of what is likely to cause it. So you may see certain types of lilies maybe growing. You may see certain type of sedimentation and deposits rising in particular area. That lend itself to other activities and other environmental and ecosystems condition that may be happening outside of that tributary or that river or that channel where that water comes through. So it is not just a matter of getting a bulldozer and bulldozing someplace and so on. Everything has to be done with a particular scientific and engineering type input to ensure that you're getting the best result. So I thought that this morning we needed to give a little angle on that so that the conversation could be expanded. We have technically a month plus before you go into the hurricane season when you are expected to experience a different kind of environmental impact, because what is called the rain season then is supposed to be imminent. And the rain season does not mean that rain will fall heavy, because you will have periods in a rain season when you could have drought.
Interesting to know. You mentioned something that sort of had me thinking, because you talk about individuals, especially folks in authority, who should be going around the island. And you talk about fault lines and all of these in certain areas around the island. But do we have people actually looking into these things? Or it's just a level of complacency stepping on, we think it's okay because it's been like that for years and stuff like that?
Well, how should I answer that? Beats me because I'm not aware, so I cannot officially comment on it, but I would hope that is the case. Because if what I say makes some sense, a lot of people support it because they understand the sciences involved in those kind of issues. And definitely, we're thinking that if we have a state and a country and a region that is vulnerable, we look at most means of comprehensive disaster management in mitigating those issues. So those should form part of our discussions going forward in terms of how we marry the issues and how we deal with them collectively. We can't be, as of in the past, being only hurricane focused. It doesn't happen. It wouldn't happen. We have to also be very, very environmentally conscious about everything, and this is why we speak of risk reduction. So my intervention is not focused on just hurricanes and earthquakes and floods, etc., but general risk reduction. couple of days ago, I walked on the Grand Dance Beach, and how conscious are we of that environment that our locals will want to use and utilize? And we look at the pooper scooper effect laws or sign that go up, speaking about the dogs and stray dogs in those areas. And when you look at feces that are deposited in the sand and what dogs and other things can carry, and our children come and they indulge and they building the sand castle, not realizing that the feces that these dogs deposited do have things in it that can be transferred to human. And so we also think environmentally that we have to be more conscious of our public spaces. And stray dogs, there was one time when people were picking up stray dogs. And I think we have to have those kind of environmental and beach wardens to look out for those places of national interest and interaction and protect them. And so those dogs that are always on the Grand Dance Beach and depositing or excreting or messing on the beach in the sand and so forth, we should have some means of controlling them, which it should be part of the wardens in a particular way environmentally to have things, nets and all that you could pull them in and get them to GSPC, otherwise we're going to care for them and have them adopted or otherwise, or euthanize them nicely and put them to sleep and have some place that they could be taken care of better. But I think that aspect of it is also a concern in terms of our general risk reduction issue, how we look at the environmental impact on it. Because I like to just go roll in the sand and play it, and then my fingers and my hand go, and then I have balance, do not push up, and my face goes down in the sand, and it goes into some things there. What it's not nice.
You know, as I said, it's just a concern of these things, because, you know, we talk about these things every week. You understand?
Yes.
And sometimes we don't hear those conversations in the domain of folks in authority.
Right.
We don't hear those conversations. We're not saying it may not be happening. You understand? But we don't hear it. So that we're not seeing the relative actions that we would like to see in relation to things taking place.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, that's just where my concern comes in with that.
But I tend to agree with you. There was a time when there was an aggressive move to capture these stray dogs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it's something that needs to be seriously revisited.
Yeah, but it's going to happen for a week or two and then it stops. You know, there's a norm in terms of things happen in Grenada. And what folks may be saying I'm being a lot of negative, but that's the norm of how things happen. You know, we if we go back to traffic, we notice folks are parking on one side of the road. The authorities going to look into it for a week or two, and then they stop there, they'll come back and look at it. And then the whole situation reoccurs again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, as you mentioned that, forgive me for jumping in, but then the other issue of domestic violence and gender-based violence and so on, it got quiet again.
Yes.
Until
it reoccurs. No, we can't be doing this. We can't be doing this. And people will vex with me or argue with me. But we have to be more on it and have more people standing up and advocate for the right issues and don't just speak to them. I understand when orange is in season, you don't speak much about mango.
No.
But the point is there's something that it has to be seasonal. It has to be all true because it affects people generally. And that whole aspect of domestic violence and all things, we need more conversations to continue on those issues and do not await for things to reach a crisis situation and then to speak.
Then to react.
It is too late in most of these cases.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, and another issue before we do have some callers on the line. I'm going to come to you. Callers just going to come to you shortly. I'm in reference to traffic because we of course we kind of split in the conversation now. I look at it in terms of we know that on a weekly or a monthly basis now we have tons of vehicles coming into the island. But why are we not seeing any adjustments being made in terms of how these vehicles are how the whole roads are adjusted, or things are adjusted to accommodate excess vehicles that are on island right now?
Not just the amount of vehicles.
Everything's are done in the same way it was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I've gone back too far, but I think that the policies and ways of things are still done in that particular way, Mr. McIntyre.
I was driving behind one big, I'll say like the people locally, I was driving behind one big truck 2 days ago. You can't see the road from any. The truck high, it has about 10 or 14 wheels and full with stuff. I'm saying that thing must be cracking the surface with, but I think we need to take in some callers.
Yeah, let's take some callers. Let's go to a caller via WhatsApp. You're live. Good morning and welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. GT morning to you and your two guests. Mr. McIntyre doing a job there. We got to put him as have some I don't know what post to give him in Grenada to help us, and mitigate a lot of things that you understand. He touched a point there about the rivers, and that's why I call. whereby people are just taking out boulders, right? And increasing the velocity of the river. That's a very good point. But what I really want to talk, and he also make a point about people not looking at potential places that could cause people lives. For instance, let me just make some points here. La Sousse in St. Mark's.
Try to be brief with it first, please, caller.
Yeah. La Sousse, Amber Falls, and Palmis. These rocks had fallen. And I want Mr. McIntyre to tell the authorities to send people so they got data to know if there is any potential rock that will be fall soon. Because when a rock fall and the government not compensating people who did, right? So we have to do that. We have to go there. Men have to go and see exactly what potential rock that might fall soon, and that do happen, right? So we just taking chance and drive on that places and them, and we doesn't know exactly what is the danger. That is just my little point I want to make.
Strong, sir.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. We do have another caller via the direct line. Caller, you're welcome. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. How is everybody doing?
Doing great.
Good morning.
Yeah.
We have Mr. McIntyre, Mr. McPhail, and GTA. Now, my point concerns Mabuya. I told the government the past years gone by, yeah? That they repair the road, they waste some money, how they doing it. I told them to build a bridge completely, or put culverts, because they have they have water running underneath. So mother full of with stuff today, they pitch it, come back next 2 weeks again, these things again. I'm tell them over. And nobody mentioned that. The stone in the river, God created the river. And he leave all them stone in the river. But mankind removing them and let them until they do not good. Trees by the sea coast. Trees by the seaside. They cut down the tree by the seaside. Why don't you see the sea? All them things is wrong. Trees by the sea coast should never be cut down. That is sea breaker, you call that windbreaker for inside the land. But look, they cut it out. Why don't you see the sea? Dogs on the beach and all. Dogs will be forbidden on the beach. Dogs don't have to be on the beach at all. It's at St. John time, in Jerry time. You should pick up all them dogs and go with them. In the days gone by, but then now, dog and he can't right to be on the beach with mankind, you know, but I mean, it was allow them, but when they threw on the beach, they pick it up. You know? Leslie.
Thank you.
Appreciate your call.
Short but really useful responses today.
Yeah.
All those responses are loaded. You have another one?
No, we don't. We don't have another caller yet.
Right.
But callers are right in reference to these things. Sometimes it takes a different view, especially over a period of time. Folks who are in the engineering field, I'm not in that particular field, in the construction part of it.
Yeah.
But you can look at things over a period of time and have them resolved by just coming up with a proper plan.
Yes.
A proper plan.
And look at the issues. And as we said, it's not just an ad hoc. It's like you have a program and you say, well, now is the bushing. And some people just gone loose and they just cut in it. And I'm sure the caller just last call it. I'm sure he's going to comment on that technically. But they have to be guided more with more engineering focus and the science.
I mean, and they have folks on island with the capability.
Of course they do.
They have folks with the capability.
Grenada has lots and lots of capability.
Of understanding how these things are supposed to be done. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
A suggestion from Mr. Mac. I've observed a lot of phosphates going into the river from people who wash cars, have businesses on the river. Phosphate promotes growth of weeds. And pretty soon those weeds overwhelm the river and they're going to cause the river to block up. So that's one area I think I'd like the government to look into really. River coastline has to be cleared of all these debris and runoffs and the whole bit. Just my 2 cents. Bye.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
2 cents, real what, if you invest it as you have done, would pay off some dividends. So thank you very much. Yeah. So we out of time. We just
we still have approximately 2 minutes.
Yes.
Of course, we could use it for closing compliments. So if someone caller do pop-ups in, we could accommodate them. But It generally leads to our conversation this morning. Our final segment, we talk about the seasonal preparation. This is important.
Yes,
very, very important, because we know sometimes we as citizens of the island, we take that with ease too much, and then something occurs, and then we get that reactive way in which how we do things, so that needs to.
And then we start to cost not man.
Oh, they didn't tell us. Don't take a final call. Caller live. Good morning. Welcome.
This is the final call. I'm a senior citizen.
Yes,
good morning.
Good morning
to you all. I live by above Lauders Lane. And I know you were speaking about noise pollution. Sometimes from around 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, the big trucks come up Lauders Lane and they put their hand on the horn. And it stays on the horn until they get to the top. It wakes me up, and I'm sure it disturbs other people. And you cannot go back to sleep. And I don't know if anything can be done about that. It is so annoying. Mostly on a Thursday, I don't know if they're bringing up wheat or what they're bringing up, but they put their hand on the horn, and the noise is so annoying. Anyway, I just thought I'd better put my little 2 pence in. Thank you. A good morning. Have a good day to you all.
Yes.
Thank you a whole lot.
So that's 2 sets of 2 pence we got. So we got 4 pence this morning, which is.
But I'm trying to figure why you at 2 o'clock in the morning you want to blow your horn. One, it's an offense, to blow your horn after 9 at night.
Yeah.
And at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're blowing your horn up the lane.
But would you believe there should be some adjustments to that particular law now as it stands, knowing with the level of traffic there is in Grenada today?
Yeah,
at 9 p.m., I think it should be adjusted. I mean, I understand.
Earlier time?
Yeah? We have another caller, which will be our call, the caller we will take before we wrap up for today. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome. Caller via WhatsApp is the caller via. Let me see if I can get that caller back in. Yeah. Caller via WhatsApp. You're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Quickly.
Good morning. Yes.
On the question of falling rocks and trees along the road, we seem not to understand the importance of grass and trees, and for example, bamboo, in the purpose of holding the soil and embankment together. And we just go willy-nilly, we cut trees, we cut grass, we destroy things that are protecting some of the edges of our roads. We seem not to understand that when you have a drain, it needs to be cleared. And it needs to be cleared in such a time that you don't clear it when the rainy season comes in and the soil is all exposed. If there is no grass along that road, along that drain, if it's not a concrete drain, then you'll be eroding the soil. So the people involved in supervision needs to do their job. And it goes back to some incompetent permanent secretaries that we have that's not doing the job, just collecting salary. The other question is on this Mabuya Road. I certainly hope, because I don't think the design is available anywhere for our Grenadian experienced engineers to comment on. But I certainly hope that the work that they're doing there is not one where they're just dumping randomly stone and soil to build up a surface and then to put a road on top of it, because that area there has been moving for years. And there is water in that area. So what needs to be done is a thorough examination of the area, even all the way to the sea. We seem just to look at problems right where it is in our footstool, but sometimes the problem is further up or further down. Then we can find the best solution. Let's not get to a situation where we have another closure road example where you have a contractor just using an excavator, excavating, and then the soil starts to slide. No support for the soil. Now we're doing something in Mabuya. Let's hope it's not just dumping it and it's solved for 2 years, and then after that we realize, there is a problem. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate your gentlemen. That's all will be the caller that we will end today's call-in segment. I was trying to get away from that word final. Final always feels you ain't coming back, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to get away from saying final. Final this.
What is different in the last?
Well, it's the last one, but it's not the final one.
It's the last one for today, but not the final.
That's what we're going to take a wrap for today.
Great.
We're going to take a wrap for today. Anything in closing?
Good program. We got some
good feedback.
Positive feedback.
I would just want to advise people, you have to be environmentally conscious and we cannot be one-tracked. We cannot be tunnel vision. We have to be current. We have to be modern. We have to also take from our past to build our future, and we have to stay on the game and be environmentally conscious, I repeat, because it does have implications for everything else, including traffic.
Gentlemen, thank you once again. Always a pleasure, of course, entertaining the conversations here on a Monday. Of course, it helps a lot of course, our listeners and viewers out there to get the imagination rolling just a wee bit. You understand? So thank until we do this next week once again, once the Almighty permits, we'll be back.
Yes.
All right. Hey, folks, that's where we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. I want to thank all who contributed. Have a good one, folks. That's where we say goodbye.